Mike, you brought this one up to me. UConn women. I'm like, I knew they were playing well, but they always play well.
They're good. They're good,
so
aren't they? Aren't they good?
Here's like the radar, and here's them. And what is it? 71 games they've now won.
71 straight games, which is a record in that sport, and it breaks UConn. The previous record was held by UConn. So I mean, it's been. This is a level of dominance that we have not seen in men's college basketball since UCLA. And that was the only time that we've seen anything like it. And even UCLA, although they sustained it for a long time, 10 national championships or whatever it was,
right.
I don't think UCLA ever had an individual team that was as dominant in men's college basketball as this team right now. This team, they not only win, they kill everybody they play.
Well, they're 32-0. They have a game tonight, Tuesday night, as we tape this, where they're going for the Big East Championship game,
right.
which would be their 16th in a row. They've played 10 top teams? Yeah, 13-0 against top 10 teams. Average margin, 26.1 points, average victory. Against the rest of the league, 39.1.
I mean, it's brutal.
So instead of them being narrowed, they seem to have widened themselves from the competition out there.
Oh, no question about it. And at a time when all other sports, the opposite seems to be happening. All other sports seem to be leaning toward parity. This is amazing that this has happened. I think this is impossible in men's basketball. I don't think it. I think it's literally impossible for one team right now to dominate the way the UConn women are doing it. So the question that we were kind of batting around is why.
And I was going to say that to you. They've got this girl in UConn, for one quick point on that, Mayla Moore, who was the Player of the Year as a sophomore, also an academic All-American. She is going to come back next year. They're supposed to have 3 of their top players back in next year.
Oh, yeah.
That, to me, is the key. Like, in fact, these UCLA teams that went 88 in a row wins, they had the same thing. There was a continuity and a flow.
Yep.
And I think it's helped in the NCAA game and also the pro game is that there is a rule you have to stay in 1 year. But even then, there's such a turnaround, and there's such parity now because there is such a turnaround. That doesn't happen in the women's game.
Women's game, people are staying for 4 years. But I mean, I think there's no question in my mind that that's a partial explanation for this. But there's also
bigger?
no question.
You think there's something bigger going on?
Well, I don't know what it is, but I think there's something bigger going on because I don't see how you get this far. A couple of years ago, there was a great women's national championship game, which was Maryland, North Carolina. Maryland won it. I think it's the best women's basketball game I've ever seen, and I thought that was the direction that this was going. I thought these big conferences, just as they do in men's basketball, were going to, bang against each other, and that was going to be the direction the sport was going. Since then, it's been completely in the other direction. UConn probably has the 2 best players in women's college basketball. A kid named Tina Charles, 6'4" center, and then Maya Moore that you mentioned. They might be the 2 best players in the game, and that just does not happen in men's basketball. It's amazing what they've been able to do.
Their head coach, Gino Auriemma, is able to now go in and recruit the best and the brightest, and then the rest of America splits the rest of the kids up.
I think that's right, yeah. I think that's very similar to UCLA. I think that's the spot he was at 40 years ago. But I think a lot of things intervened. I think the gospel of how to coach got spread around the country. The gospel of how to recruit got spread around the country. Camps, clinics, people playing against each other in the summer, and it kind of spread like wildfire. But a lot of that has already happened in women's basketball. That kind of stuff has already happened, and again, we have this thing with which defies explanation. It's an amazing thing.
Amazing thing. Yet the head coach says his 2002 team was better. Could be motivation, but that team had 4 of the top 6 draft picks in the WNBA. Sue Bird, Gino Taurasi, is that how you said her last name, right? Went out to Seattle. They were really good players. I mean, Rebecca Lobo. I remember these girls from the past, and yet these girls seem to be flying under the radar, and they're the most dominant group that they've ever had in women's basketball.
No question about it, and I do think that he's using that for motivation for these kids, not that they seem to need it.